Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTubers. This is Jerry Dime with How to Get Out of Babylon. And I'm going to be, this is kind of out of the ordinary for me, but there's topics that need to be addressed. Like if you go down to Shofar Mountain, or you go to Gathering of the Saints, GOTS, G-O-T-S, Gathering of the Saints, or Tabernacles with him or Charles Dowell from Tennessee, or, different places like that. And we've done it before, too. The group I fellowship with used to, before I was excommunicated by a kangaroo court of men with no minds. No. After I came out of that kangaroo court, I was like, I assessed the whole thing as men who were blind leading men with no minds. So, hi guys. In the whole 2 years plus or whatever, since that happened, not one of those men who said they loved me has ever contacted me and said, would you like to come back to the fold, brother? Would you like to repent of your sin? Would you like to come back to God? Because they never accused me of anything. They just wrote me off. Said, get out of here. We don't want you here. So, stupid, really. I was the only, in my estimation at the time, if you look at the qualifications for teaching elders for Bishop and Timothy and Titus, I was the only man that qualified. And both the Torah, throughout Scripture, it says, you shall not receive accusations against an elder except in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Not mere accusations, which is all allegations. I'm sorry. There were allegations against you. Get out of here. Okay, anyway. Soapbox rant over. How did I get on that? I don't know. Fellowship, yeah. Shooting, yeah. Okay. John Weaver. We have trained with him, and he's been to Front Sight in Arizona enough times that he could teach. He's a master combat shooting specialist. So we've done training. How did I get off on that? Because of sanitation. It's so important. Okay, what's the connection? Let me get to that in a minute. Okay, so en route here, let's say, and this is a scenario where, and I'm going to go into the wheels and leverage and hauling stuff. I want to do an assessment of carts. I haven't gotten back to that yet. I'm going to. The aero cart is great for gardening and multiple purposes around a home site, but it's not something that you would want to take down the road 500 miles. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, so you're en route here, and you're a woman, and you need to deal with calls of nature, okay? So, in other words, go number 1. I got to go weeby. Okay, so there are things called STP. Don't mess with me. I have STP. STD, STP, stand to pee devices. They're also called FUDs, female urinary device. FUD, FUD. FUD and STPs, okay. They allow a woman, instead of every time she has to go pee, to let me go check the tires and pee on the tires, like the dogs and the guys, or pee in the bushes, or pee on a tree, or pee on the telephone pole. No problem. So this is a cheap one, but it's made pretty much like what is called Go Girl. That's the best one that I think of all of them. It actually has one of them has a 12-inch long silicone tube, which you could cut in half or thirds, and just to it goes in here, pulls through, and extends it a little bit. This says it's silicone, and it just, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I could melt it over the stove and see if it doesn't melt, 500-degree heat. But anyway, that's the idea, okay? So, and Jersey's already tested it. She said it worked great. She didn't have any trouble. They say try them in the shower first, okay? So, where does that come into self-defense? Well, obviously, on a search and rescue team, or if you're en route here and you're in a semi-public place and you got to go, you can step behind a tree, step behind a building, and be done before anybody even knows. Guys can do that all the time. I do it all the time. Behind the van, telephone pole. I can be right outside the cabin. I know nobody can see me. Deep, tinkle, tinkle. Okay, now you can do that. Okay. STPs, FUDs. This one here on Amazon, 5 for about $5. And I was going to do a buy it or make an I think it was eBay, whatever. Make an offer of multiple. I would have 1,000 of these on hand here. I'd love to have 50 million of these. Well, 40, 30, about 20 million of these here in the Ozarks. So bring them with you. Buy them. You get 5 for $1. I mean, 5 for $5. About $1 a piece. Okay. The Gold Girls, they're $10 a piece, ballpark. But push comes to shove, these will work. They will. They're supposed to be hydrophobic. So you use it. It's got urine on it. You go flick, flick. Nothing. Totally sterile. Totally clean. And I don't see that with this one. So I'm not. Anyway. Who cares? Double as a shofar. No, just kidding. A very high-pitched one. So what's the connection between that and self-defense? Well, obviously, the reason I want to see women get these is to cut down on the times when in a mixed sex situation, a co-ed situation, whether search and rescue teams or en route, camping, whatever, where you don't have to have certain conditions apply, way down the hill, way up the hill, whatever, total privacy, so you can drop your pants. Don't have to. Boom, get these. I think everybody can see the need and the value of these. I mean, I tried to hack this a long time before all these others came out. I found about this so many years ago, and I was like, oh, that is brilliant. That's ingenious. Got to do it. And I was trying would this funnel work? Would this work? Would this work? There's a medical laboratory thing. It's called it looks like a spoon, Anyway, I tried a bunch of things. So I've spent a lot of money on research and development. I've got about 200 products. Somebody gets here, wants to build something, we can set up a factory and start building stuff. So these are cool. Now, whether it's number 1 or number 2, you go out in the woods, and if it's number 2, guess what? There's rules in Torah for that situation. You're supposed to have a paddle on your weapon, your bow. You got to have a paddle. You do your duty, you dig a hole, you do your duty, bury it, so that Yahweh, thy Elohim, can walk in your camp. So the ground that he walks on is holy, and he doesn't walk on any excrement, okay? Don't be full of excrement. I think case closed on that one. And there's people who violate that all the time. I know someone very close to me who is violating that in an extremely and ridiculous and absurd manner. So I won't say any more on that. So let's say you needed to go and take a number 2 as a woman in the woods en route here on a search and rescue, whatever situation it is that you've gotten yourself into or you're into, whether you're a mom searching for children in a search and rescue team that hopefully you're on the outskirts of the Ozark Plateau and you're going out and looking. And this is going to happen. A woman contacted me this week or last week and said, well, I wanted to go get out of the country because America's Babylon is going to be destroyed. And then I found the idea of the Ozark Plateau, and then I found you, and she's like, it's like it's a totally different world, or something to that effect. And I said, yeah, I've had people come here. One guy came here, he was here for half an hour, and he said, Jerry, this is a totally different world than the one I live in, and I'm done with it. And by the time I next met him, he had moved 75% of his stuff up here to the Ozarks from Texas. So, yeah, it is a different world, and it is physically a different world. It is demographically a different world. There's a whole different group of people here. People that settled it were free-thinking mountaineers. I've said that before. Scotch-Irish. Those are the people that settled the mountains here. These are mountains. It is one mountain. Actually, it is one mountain. Keep that in mind. It's going to be important. It's one single mountain. It says so geographically. There is a coral reef around it. How did that happen? I don't know. Did God put it there at creation? Was it actually some kind of extended time before the biblical creation? Who knows? But there is a coral reef around the Ozark Plateau. It is a single, solitary, big, giant mountain. All right, so you go out and you need to dig a hole. Well, what better thing to dig your hole with than with a nice, convenient little entrenching tool, a shovel. So you're out doing your duty, and you have your trusty little cold steel shovel. Okay? I showed that before, but get a flashlight over here. Sorry. sharpened edges, all three of them. As I recall, the first one I got only had one sharpened edge, but this is, and they're beveled pretty darn good. You can take those down. There's other shovels, and they sharpen them up, and then they'll show them shaving with them. So that is what you dig your hole with. Somebody comes up on you and gets belligerent or offensive. You never ever throw an edged weapon if it's your last weapon. Okay, so if you had this and you had to throw it, make sure it sticks and works. And if that don't work, have a backup. You can get a Tomahawk. They're cheap. I got one for Jersey that was, I don't know, I paid too much for it. Well, no, I didn't notice the shipping. That was it. It was about $20. You can get a decent Tomahawk for $20, and this one is a little bit different, but pretty similar to the one. But for about $20, you can get a decent little Tomahawk, or cheaper. Just something that is another weapon that's also conveniently, it's got a lanyard, and so you can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can trim bark. You can make kindling, and it doesn't have a hammer on the back. Some of them you can get ones with hammers. This one happens to have a spike. And the reason I actually found this was because I wanted, and I'm going to belly this. I'm going to make a belly on this. I'm going to grind that up so it has a turn down point more, because I wanted something that actually what I was looking for was not a weapon per se, although I can, when I'm splitting wood, see, I can. There's a lot of times oak has strands in it. They're gnarly and twisty, and they're a pain in the neck. So bam, they're cut. But I also wanted a picaroon, and if I belly this a little bit, make this so that it's more of a turn down point. As it is, you can stick it into the wood, but it comes out just as easily. And I want something that'll hook in there. A hookaroon. They're called hookaroons or picaroons. Look them up. Cody Crone Wrangler Star, has good videos on them. Some guy from Australia handmade him a axaroon, axaroon, whatever you call it. Axe on one side, hook on the other side, which kind of was what I wanted to do with that one. So there you go. Weapon. Have a backup. Don't get rid of. If this is the last thing you got, don't throw it, because if you miss, you're you're out of luck. Okay. So if you want to have some backup, or you want to have a primary, have a real gun of some kind, And this is a XD, and the nice thing about them is, I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a little notch there. Where it's not going to blind me. See that? That's an indicator. There's a round in the chamber. And on the back, that pin, it's cocked. So I know that it's condition 1, ready to fire. And if you watch very many videos of active self-protection, and I would highly recommend that, ASP, active self-protection, you want to cover your ASP. ASP, your ASP. And he talks all about transitional times. Be aware when you're getting out of your car, when you're getting in your car. Know what's behind you, know what's around you, know who's around you. Keep your eyes open. It might keep your head on your shoulders. Okay. So the last time I did something with this, we were at a gathering with the people that later excommunicated me, and we were doing IDP, International Defense Pistol Competition, setting up scenarios and shooting them. Well, I won the thing, had the highest score. That's pretty cool. This thing's heavy. It's a 45. 45. What about Susie? She's only 5. 45. Long story. Vietnam vet. His commanding officer in the was a sergeant. In real quick, Denver police. He said, "I hear that you're carrying your service revolver unloaded and with the snap off." And he goes, "Yep." And he goes, "What are you carrying for backup?" And he goes, 45. He goes, guy says, "Okay, fine with me." Works. He wanted somebody to grab it and give him an excuse to pop him, arrest him. So, whatever. Quite the character. Mad Dog Riley. Yeah, history. Speaking of another Nope, too late. Ha ha. This is Jerry Diamond. If you're listening to this, you are the remnant. Get here.